अस्सलाम वालेकुम, वेलकम टू बिजनेस मैटर्स और मैं हूं आपकी होस्ट मरियम अली। आज हम एग्री स्पेस के एक ख़ास इंडस्ट्री के बारे में बात करने जा रहे हैं और वो है ट्रैक्टर्स। ट्रैक्टर्स की बुनियाद ही से हमारी पूरी एग्री स्पेस से मैकेनाइजेशन शुरू होता है। और आज हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं साकिब एल्ताफ, CEO of Al-Ghazi Tractors. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you very much and assalamu alaikum to everybody.
जी, तो शुरू करते हैं आपकी कंपनी के बारे में। Tell us a little bit about the company's beginnings. इसका एक तारीखी अगर आप जायज़ा दे सकते हैं, और ये एक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप के तौर पर शुरू हुआ था, उसके बारे में आप कुछ मज़ीद बात कर सकते हैं।
जी, thank you very much. जी, Al-Ghazi was founded in 1983 और जब प्राइवेटाइजेशन हुई थी 1991 में, उस टाइम पे ये कंपनी ने एक्वायर कर लिया था अल्फुतेम ग्रुप फ्रॉम दुबई एंड केस न्यू हॉलैंड, who are the technology partners as well. So they became major shareholders. So abhi with the current shareholding, 93% of our company is actually foreign owned. हमारी जो technology है is Case New Holland technology. Used to actually be known as the Fiat technology back in the day. But Fiat was then acquired by Case New Holland. And as a result, we are now part of the larger Case New Holland family. So they give us access to a lot of R&D, quality systems. Our technology effectively comes through that collaboration that we have with Case New Holland. हमारा प्लांट जो है वो डेरा गाजी खान में है, और हमारे ऑफिसेज अक्रॉस पाकिस्तान है, अक्रॉस ऑल द मेजर सिटीज। और हमारी प्रोडक्ट रेंज जो है इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम 55 हॉर्स पावर ऑल द वे अप टू 85 हॉर्स पावर। और जो हमारे ट्रैक्टर्स हैं दे आर प्रेडोमिनेंटली built for agriculture and for farming, so we really support the farming community. तो हमारा जो main जो ethos है as a company is that we are here to help farmers, and so the technology and the products that we put out are really for agriculture and to support the food security agenda of Pakistan's government. And I would say the last thing I would say is that, our strength really lies between those partnerships that we have, both from the shareholding perspective that provides long-term stability, but also business ethics, and then the technology and the innovation in engineering that we benefit from with the collaboration with CNH. But they also extend into our local network. So we have close to about 300 local vendors that we work with in Pakistan. We have a product that is close to 90% plus localized. So we have a very strong partnership with local vendors as well. And I think that's where our strength lies, is to connect that global and local partnership.
आपने भी बात की थी टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में। आपकी जो ख़ास टेक्नोलॉजी, आप नाज़रीन को प्लीज़ एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं कि इसमें सबसे ख़ास बात क्या है?
सबसे खास बात ये है कि जो टेक्नोलॉजी है is again as I mentioned कि it is primarily focused on the farmers and meeting the needs of the farmers. तो ये जो टेक्नोलॉजी है it is products that are tried and tested across the world. We benefit from the support that we get from Case New Holland. और ये जो हमारे tractors हैं they are built with with the support from the OEM. That support structure is then helped to really define and grow our local ecosystem that covers everything from our vendor base and the quality standards that we have with our vendors, also towards the network of customers that we have, which are served through our dealerships across the country. So this is primarily how we're
sorry, I guess बात कट रही है. If explain it to me, जैसे एक tractor है, what differentiates your tractor specifically? Like explain it to me in terms of tractor technology. Like कोई खास चीज होती है in the tractor? जी बताइए.
जी. So tractor technology from that perspective, the tractor is really made up of three major components if you think about it. So one thing is the engine, the second is the gearing and how how you're set up. And the third thing is the hydraulics, which are the main components of tractor. So हमारे जो technology है, again, this is a tried and trusted technology. So our engines are very efficient. We have technology that has been carried forward from Fiat days. So when the tractors were first built. So we have the same sort of DNA within our tractors right from that point. But also the other thing that really makes us stand out is the support that we have to our farmers with the technology that we're putting out with regards to the hydraulics capability of the tractor. So we
अच्छा.
recently introduced a lift-o-matic system, which is a very advanced and a very sensitive, I would say, it is built for precision and for precision farming. And so we've introduced this in our high horsepower range. This is an Italian technology that came from Italy that is designed specifically for CNHI. And so we are bringing these technologies into Pakistan to help the customers and farmers really improve their mechanization solutions.
तो आपके नज़दीक अलगाजी ट्रैक्टर्स कौन से गैप्स को फिल कर रहा है in the rural space?
When you think about sort of our core product range is sort of everything from 55 horsepower, which is primarily built for small tractors and really supporting the smaller industries. I would say, as we've seen in the last few years, land holding has become smaller and smaller. So as these farm sizes have become smaller, sometimes a customer base doesn't necessarily need a very large tractors. So we have a complete range that covers everything from 55 horsepower up to 85 horsepower. And this is, I think, primarily where we are focused, is to try and make sure that we address the changing needs of our end customers. जो farmers हैं, उनकी जो requirements है, उनको हम लेके चल रहे हैं. So जो भी product innovations हम लेके आ रहे हैं are specifically geared towards their requirements and supporting them. But then there's also additional programs that we see. We have a lot of new things happening. There's been an emergence of corporate farming and discussion around how corporate farming is going to come into Pakistan. So we are also working on bringing and improving our products to support those sectors as well.
So tractor production in Pakistan has been historically very low. So misal ke taur par 1970 mein there were only about 35,000 tractors, and actually that number is now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the latest figure from the Pakistan Economic Survey is about 675,000 tractors, which is a huge leap that's happened. आपके नज़दीक ये production, why was it so slow, considering we are such an agri economy? और उसकी, I guess, तारीखी वजह क्या थी, and what do you think what are some of the factors in the rise in assembly of tractors in this country?
So I think you're absolutely right that we've seen a major change within the sector. And actually, when you look at the historical analysis here, you do see that there are sort of waves that come along. So you do have periods where the industry does really, really well. We've even seen the overall industry go up to 75,000 tractors. और अभी जो recently हमने देखा है कि market थोड़ी कम हुई है. There are many factors here. There are, when you think about it, at the heart of it, it all comes down to the farmers, and are their costs, their input costs being met? These economic shifts that we are seeing within the sector, they can affect the affordability factor for the end farmer. And so I think this is what creates a lot of disruption. But it's not only linked to that. There are also other areas, and we've seen that sometimes fiscal policy measures, or whether they are other policy-related decisions that are taken, sometimes can affect the industry in the short term. And so I think the focus that we as an industry have is to try and make sure that we are able to ride the wave of these sort of market shifts that we see, but also work with the different stakeholders to align the different agendas. And I think one area would be that we provide input into sort of a national tractor policy or mechanization policy that really helps to strengthen and align all the different stakeholders, whether it's the customer and their requirements, whether it's the manufacturers, the OEMs, whether it's the ancillary services that support those OEMs and the industry, like a vendor base, and then also look at the agenda from the government's perspective in terms of making sure that they are still on the agenda to protect Pakistan's food security and rural employment agenda as well.
सर आप इस वक्त कह रहे थे पिछले सेगमेंट में कि इकोनॉमिक वॉलेटिलिटी की वजह से there's been shifts in tractor production. उसके बारे में आप मज़ीद बात कर सकते हैं? पिछले 2-3 साल में ट्रैक्टर प्रोडक्शन काफ़ी स्टैग्नेंट रहा है, उसकी वजह आप दे सकते हैं?
जी डेफिनेटली इट्स ऑल डिमांड ड्रिवन एक्चुअली व्हेन अगर आप देखें तो अब सबसे जो करंट हम चैलेंज फेस कर रहे हैं वो ये है कि फार्मर इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन जो है दैट हैज रियली अफेक्टेड द इंडस्ट्री and the economic situation is connected to a couple of different things. एक तो input costs जो है वो उनके जो है वो बढ़ गए हैं, different tax implications have come in that have affected the tractor sector or the industry in the short term. Then the other aspect of it is
बात
also
तो वो टैक्स आप उस पर बात कर सकते हैं कौन सा टैक्स लगा है और what's the percentage?
so they have been so last year for example we saw कि sales tax जो है वो reintroduce हुआ था on the tractor industry. So before that there was a period where there was taxes on the tractor. Then there was a relief given to customers. और वो टैक्स जो है उन्होंने निकाल दिया था but recently
किस सन में निकाला था?
It was from 2020 onwards. I think there was a period of almost 2 to 3 years where we didn't have the tax anymore. And then uske baad last year, tax was reintroduced back in July last year. That was 10%. Uske baad, towards the end of last year, they increased that further to 14%. So these shifts have actually had some impact in the overall industry and the market. But also, I think, अगर आप farmers की तरफ से देखें ना, तो it's not just the taxes that are affecting the farmers. There's many other areas. Farmer की जो economic situation है, वो कम हो गई है, right? They are also the prices of crops and the output of crops as well has been affected. And as a result, जो farmers' economic situation is being affected not just by these taxes, but also by other areas. So as the output increases, farmers get the right price for their produce, and their economic situation is stabilized. I think that would help to really grow the sector. Or in the short term, हमने जो देखा है, जी, sorry.
नहीं, continue.
जी मैं ये कहना था कि in the short term जो हमने देखा है कि there are programs that are in place to support the sector. जैसे last year government launched or Punjab government launched the green tractor scheme. इस साल में भी उन्होंने एक wheat growers program launch किया था. And these programs are really helping to stabilize the fluctuation in the market. But I think we still have to address those fundamental challenges that farmers are facing.
जी सर, तो ये obviously demand side के issues हैं, लेकिन supply side पर in your case economic volatility ने आपके production को कैसे affect किया है? आपने कोई changes नजर आई हैं? आपने कोई तब्दीलियां की हैं अपनी company में to withstand these rapid changes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the demand shifts, of course, we have to also adjust our production schedules to meet the changing need of the industry, and work with our vendors. Because if you can imagine, we have a wide network of vendors that are also reliant on our production. And ultimately, we have to look at that from an overall perspective. I think as a whole, the industry has also continued to support export programs, and we're looking at different markets where we can also start growing our presence and see if there are opportunities beyond the borders of Pakistan to sort of expand our customer base. But in the short term, I think the main thing is to adjust our production, adjust our scheduling to make sure that we are able to sort of support the industry where it is.
आपका जो फाइनल प्रोडक्ट है वो किस हद तक लोकलाइज्ड है और कितना इम्पोर्टेड है?
जी, अगर आप प्रोडक्ट पे देखें तो ट्रैक्टर हैज ओवर 1,000 parts actually,
जी जी
individual parts, and currently we have over 90% of our
हम्म
tractor that is localized. So when I say
ओके
localized, is that there's an indigenous program that is set up by the government, and over the years we have been able to work with our vendors. और ये जो ट्रैक्टर के parts हैं अभी locally manufactured होते हैं.
हम्म
So there's a significant industry that supports the sector and and it's not just us because these vendors are also supporting the wider automotive sector in Pakistan
जी
as well.
जी, so basically आप ये कहना चाहेंगे that effectively it's a demand side problem because supply side, unlike in other industries which are very reliant on imports, the tractor industry is not that reliant. क्या ये सच है? Is that an accurate description?
I would say that no, there is always going to be some reliance on imports because of different technologies
हम्म
that we're bringing. But अगर आप देखें कि जो हमारे standard products हैं, those are primarily reliant on the demand. And the same industry, the same sectors, the same vendors have also been able to supply tractors when the industry was at 75, 70,000 plus tractors. So
हम्म
I think the limitation is not on the supply side. It is
हम्म
more on the demand. And if we can support the sector by putting the right policies to improve demand, we can definitely, scale up as the customers' requirements change.
तो स्विचिंग
एक
गियर्स
और चीज मैं कहना
ओवर जी
चाहता हूँ.
बताइए
Sorry,
बताइए
just last thing I'd like to add there is that uh, there is something that we have to also recognize कि हमारी जो technologies हैं, in order
हम्म
to continue innovating and to continue bringing new products to our customers, there will be an element where we are reliant on other markets technologies. जैसे हमने कहा था कि we are a part of Case New Holland. तो उनकी जो
हम्म
technologies हैं, they are far superior and more advanced than ours. They have
हम्म
multiple products in different jurisdictions and markets. So the collective knowledge that they have is where we can benefit. So we are also working to import some of those technologies into Pakistan. And so there will always
गॉट
be a reliance on imports. But
हम्म
the idea is to support that with bringing those technologies into Pakistan and then supporting the local industry to grow those technologies and that knowledge base.
Okay. Zooming out a little bit, जो हमारी जो tractor industry है, it's often considered a duopoly because there are two key players. One is Millet and one is obviously Al-Ghazi Tractors. So I think Millet का है 70% हिस्सा of the market और I think Al-Ghazi का है 30%. इस space में Millet की obvious dominance है, तो what are some factors that differentiate Al-Ghazi Tractors to the average customer and how do you differentiate your company in comparison to the market player, the other market player?
I think, first of all, what I would say is that just to clarify,
जी
our market share last year was 36%. And तो inshallah ये भी हम आगे बढ़ाएंगे. We are bringing new products into the market that and working with
हम्म
our customers to make sure that we are providing the solutions that customers need. With regards to the our products, because we have sort of quite a bit of support with our
हम्म
shareholder and technology partner. We can bring these technologies into Pakistan. So recently we've introduced, as I mentioned, an improved and a more, I would say, precision-based
हम्म
farming tool, which is a liftomatic technology. And
हम्म
just like that, we will continue to use the sort of knowledge base that we have within Case New Holland CNH and import a lot of that technology and R&D methodology into Pakistan. So I think this is where we have I would say a very strong collaboration that will help to continue
हम्म
developing new products and supporting our industry.
So obviously you are also a newer company. So आपने कौन से ऐसे steps लिए थे जिससे your company was differentiated in the early stages और अब कौन से आप steps ले रहे हैं? To obviously अगर आपने कहा कि आपकी 30% market share थी, अब it's 36%. So 40% तक या 50% तक, what steps are you going to take?
I think it also comes back to having the right product
Mm-hmm.
portfolio and looking at the changing needs of our customers. हमारी जो technology as Case New Holland has always been very farmer centric and looking at the key products and the capability that is required on the farms. And so a lot of our tractors you'll find are mostly within the rural areas where the farming community is strong.
Mm-hmm.
And what we are really doing is to grow that base in terms of the market and the market share is support farmers with the products that they need for the future. And so take the feedback of our farmers और वो feedback जो है वो हमारे R&D center से हम
Mm-hmm.
नए प्रोडक्ट्स को डेवलप कर रहे हैं प्रोडक्ट्स को एनहांस कर रहे हैं और उसके साथ आई थिंक वी विल बी एबल टू further improve our market share as we offer the right products to our customers.
So, sir, let's go back to the topic of the farmer itself. कि आपके ख्याल में जो subsidies उनको इस वक्त मिल रहे हैं, पहले आप बता सकते हैं कौन सी subsidies मिल रहे हैं? क्या is that enough or are they being deeply underserved?
That's a very good question, and I think the subsidy program that
Mm-hmm.
was there were quite a few things that were actually in place.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can break them down a little bit, पहले तो
जी
ये था
बताइए.
कि जी जो पहले जो था कि taxes जो थे in
Mm-hmm.
the past the tax that was being charged was 5% at one point, then it
Mm-hmm.
was brought down to zero. So that meant that the tractor was more affordable. There was a cost reduction for the end customer. And then uske baad, there was also a program where there were certain financing schemes that were launched by different sort of under the umbrella of different things. There was a mechanization scheme. There were also programs to support new technologies or new I should say youth programs and things like that. So these different financing support schemes also help to really improve or provide subsidies to the sector, which previously may not have been able to get loans through banks or other sort of structured mechanisms. So these schemes, I think, were also part of the subsidies that I would say supported the sector. So these are the things that have I would say
Mm-hmm.
come off. And then what we also saw was that Punjab government में जो schemes लेके आए थे green tractor scheme last year
Mm-hmm.
plus हम और जो वो इंशाल्लाह इस साल भी उन्होंने announce किया that they will continue the scheme which is really helpful for the sector. And then the wheat scheme they launched a wheat program supporting wheat farmers with a scheme earlier this year as well. So these are the kind of programs I think that have really helped the sector and have helped to mitigate some of that shock that we saw in the early days where some of those policies were changed, which also affected the affordability factor for farmers.
आपके ख्याल में जो rural credit schemes होते हैं, could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Are they in place?
I think that's one of our
Yeah.
challenges actually, which when you see these schemes, जैसे मैंने कहा ना
Mm-hmm.
कि there was a sort of a scheme that was supporting mechanization.
जी.
Unfortunately, those schemes are no longer, or they have been. I shouldn't say they're no longer in place. I think they tend to come in cycles. And और ये जो cyclical हम देखते हैं, those schemes are not, they're not always available to support the rural, at least the rural communities. Their biggest challenge is getting access to credit and leasing solutions. And I think that your farmers होते हैं, when they go to a major bank, they don't
Mm-hmm.
have the same sort of financial credit history, all of the documentation that a bank may need to lend. So this is where I think there's a bit of a gap that needs to be bridged for supporting the rural community to be able to afford and get the right financing solutions.
So there's been a huge push by the State Bank of Pakistan on agri-financing. Specifically, उन्होंने कहा है कि सारे major banks in Pakistan, उनका जो portfolio है वो 10% होना चाहिए in terms of agri-financing. उसका असर आपने देखा है आपके particular industry के ऊपर?
अभी हम देख रहे हैं there is a push and
जी
I think that's really helpful and I think what also helps is that कि overall जो lending rates हैं वो भी कम हो गए. So
ओके
the lending rates coming down, that has had an impact. But अगर आप इसको just put it into context, the previous schemes जो हमारी farm mechanization schemes थी, वो schemes पे the lending was at 7%. Or currently, even with the lower interest rates, currently banks are lending at anywhere between, 14, 16, depending on customer profiles and different bank rates. So there's still almost double the rate that was there before. So while there is a benefit and there is some support in the sector as a whole, because of the fact that the lending rate is still so much more than what it was before, the adoption and also the lending overall is at a much lower level than what it was before. So what we are seeing is that there is still these programs are still supporting, but not to the level that we were seeing in the past.
So obviously tractors is an indication of productivity in the larger agri space. So is lihaz se, how would you compare Pakistan's market in terms of tractor penetration compared to other markets?
Well, this is a good question, and I think this is an area that if you look at looking at sort of major markets that are across the South Asia and maybe even other parts of Asia as well, you see that there's higher level of mechanization compared to where we are today. So there's certain benchmarks that are usually sort of
जी
quoted. So there's the Food and Agriculture Authority. The FAO, which is the Food and Agriculture Organization, they provide some kind of benchmarks as to where they think the mechanization levels should be. So they have a KPI that they usually quote, which is about 1.4 horsepower per acre. And so you look at where we are relative to that benchmark, and we see that certain markets, you take for example India, that is much much higher, probably double that, and where we are today in Pakistan is probably just shy of 1 horsepower per acre. So there is significant scope for us to grow. And I think ये जो scope है ना, this can only be made a sort of possible if we have an all-inclusive policy that supports
पॉलि
not just a mechanization, but also an end-to-end solution for enabling new technologies and new innovation to come to Pakistan to modernize the sector and provide support to our farmers.
आपके नज़दीक कौन से पॉलिसी रिफॉर्म्स होने चाहिए जो प्रोडक्टिविटी के लिए एक पॉजिटिव असर हो?
So the policy reform जो है has to be across different segments. क्योंकि जैसे tractor industry जो है, there are stakeholders which are customers. You have government. You have our vendor base. You have this sector itself, which employs a large portion of workforce of Pakistan as well. So there are many factors that need to be looked at when thinking about the policy framework. So ये जो policy framework has, I think it needs to look at everything that says how do you bring new technologies into Pakistan? How do you support farmers to be able to afford these technologies? And how do you support the local industries to embrace these technologies and provide quality products into the sector? So I think from my perspective, the way I see it is that the policy should be all encompassing that brings all these different stakeholders and brings them together into one common goal, which is to improve mechanization, support the food security agenda, and this will drive economic growth across all multiple sectors.
But sir, आप मुझे कुछ concrete मिसालें दे सकते हैं, like a specific, like 3 points that we could make?
Yes, for sure. So I think अगर हम एक चीज देखें, the policy should talk about what kind of financing solutions can be available for farmers. Whether it's the banks providing financing, what kind of programs should be there? can they be supported by some kind of a government program that is focused on the agriculture customers and agriculture sector? Can we support the technology transfer and the technology programs to bring new and innovative products into Pakistan through some kind of a program on not just providing a support on lower import duties, but also supporting the local sector to invest in these new technologies. And I think the overall output of that would be कि ये चीजें जो हैं they will support the local sector to grow and also support the technologies that may be required to grow our customer base outside of Pakistan as well. So we can expand our export programs if we have the right
That's a great
products.
That's a great point. तो आपके नज़दीक export potential क्या है? What are some potential markets जो Pakistan can expand into?
I think Pakistan currently, if you look at the current market and the current sort of export programs that are there, it is primarily focused at neighboring countries, primarily Afghanistan. And so majority of the tractors that are exported out of Pakistan are going into Afghanistan. However, there is still a huge market in emerging areas where manufacturing doesn't exist. So take, for example, the whole of Africa. Africa is also a very, there's a lot of potential for agriculture in Africa, and they don't have the manufacturing capabilities there to be able to, grow their mechanization program. So if we have, programs where we know which markets have what requirements in terms of product, तो हम उन markets के अंदर penetrate कर सकते हैं. And I think a lot of these countries also have certain categories of compliance. So some of them are a little bit more advanced. If you go, say, South Africa, you find कि उनकी जो requirements and quality standards, their parameters might be very different from some less developed markets who may not have those standards. So it's about developing our products to suit the requirements of the different markets that are out there.
Got it. So, आपने पिछले segment में touch किया था on this particular topic regarding small holdings. So there's a trend in Pakistan कि हमारे जो farm size है वो कम होता जा रहा है. उसका क्या impact है in the long run on productivity and not just on your company but in general productivity and how we foresee the agri space in our country?
It's also an interesting question that things are changing in the local market. और इस change के साथ जो first चीज जो होती है ना, you'd kind of think about this though, with smaller farms you don't need very large equipment when you think about it. So there would be a tendency that we see farmers sort of gravitating towards smaller tractors. लेकिन वो ये पाकिस्तान में नहीं हो रहा. In fact, what we are seeing is that customers are always looking for higher horsepower tractors. And the sector, when you actually break it down, you see a large portion of the sector is actually high horsepower tractors. So there is a shift in our customer base. And the reason for that is कि customers जो हैं आजकल के जो customers हैं, they are looking beyond agriculture. So they're looking for equipment that will serve their purpose for multiple, applications. So agriculture being one of them. फिर जब crop cycles के in between periods होते हैं, how do you use the tractor to be able to generate some more income for the farmer perspective? So this is where we are seeing the shift in the market as well. And I think with this, there is also a rise or there is a need to put some thinking around a rental and leasing kind of opportunity that would be there. कि ये छोटे farms जो हैं, they might not be able to afford tractors themselves, but maybe there are opportunities for them to lease tractors or when they need them, they can have access to these tractors. And I think the whole idea is to bring an ecosystem, and I think this should be part of the policy that we have, is a policy, an ecosystem that supports how do you provide those mechanization solutions to these smaller farmers. Are there rental opportunities? Can you bring in banks to support the rental program? Can you bring fintech companies to help support different sort of applications that might help to connect, equipment owners and equipment users? So I think there are many opportunities in the sector that is still relatively underserved.
Thank you so much for your insights, sir. Business Matters के इस एपिसोड में शामिल होने का शुक्रिया. A big thank you to our guests for joining us today and join us next week as we continue to uncover Pakistan's business landscape. तब तक के लिए खुदा हाफिज़.